Hello and welcome to this instructional video on how to review and compare your medications for a Part D drug plan on Medicare.gov. I'm Justin Zastro from 5 Star Insurance, and I'm going to be walking you through this today. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to go onto the website Medicare.gov. Now you don't need to log in to go into and review the information I'm going to do, but you can always do that if you would like to save your information for in the future. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to this section right here that is Find Health and Drug Plans. And we're going to click Find Plans now. Once you've done that, you're going to begin by entering in your zip code. And if you need to, you may have to select a county as well. Once you've selected your county and you've got your zip code in there, you can go ahead and click Continue. The next thing it's going to ask is what type of plan you want to review. We're going to choose Medicare Drug Plan Part D because a Part D plan and Medicare Drug Plan are the same thing. So we're going to select that one and we're going to select Find Plans. The next thing it's going to ask you is if you got any help with your Medicare health costs or drug costs. So this could be things like Medicaid, state pharmaceutical assistance programs, extra help. If you have one of those things, feel free to check that box. Otherwise, for most people, you would just check, I don't get help from any of these programs. So we're going to select that one for now, and we're going to click Continue. The next thing, this one's pretty obvious, but it's going to ask if you want to search for your drugs when you compare the plans. That's why we're here today. So yes, we want to choose yes for that one. So we'll select yes, and then we're going to click Next. Now we're going to begin adding in our prescription drugs. And during this time, the one thing that you're going to want to make sure is that you are paying close attention to the dosage and the frequency that you're taking those medications. So I'm just going to put in some common medications that a lot of people often are on or some variant of it. So I'm going to put in atorvastatin. We're going to click Add Drug, and then we're going to select our dosage, and this is the common dose. So we're going to put that one in there. And then we're going to add some more drugs. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to click Add Another Drug. Start typing in the next one. So like I did metoprolol. Now with metoprolol, there's two different types. There's tartrate and succinate. So this would be a good point when I would look at my pill bottle, see which one it is that I'm taking, and then I would select the appropriate medication. So I'm going to pick that one. And again, I'm going to select Add Drug. Choose my dosage, my frequency, everything looks good. So then I'm going to add it to my drug list. Now I'm going to add one more medication on here, just an eye drop. So I'm going to put in timolol. Add that medication. Now with this one, there's a bunch of different solution types that I can pick from, even some tablets. I'm going to say that I'm taking this solution and I get a 15 milliliter bottle, and I'm going to put on here that I get one every 3 months. We're going to add that to my drug list. Now I have completed adding in all my medications, so I'm going to select Done Adding Drugs. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick pharmacies to compare when I'm looking at my different plans. I'm going to put mail order on here because it's always good to see, like, would your medications be cheaper if you had them delivered in the mail? And then I'm just going to select 3 more that are relatively close to me. Once I've done that, down here on the bottom right, I'm going to click Continue to View Plans. Now, Medicare.gov is going to automatically sort this by the lowest drug and premium cost. And this is a good way to compare your plan options because it's a good idea to figure out how much are you going to be spending as well as how much is it going to cost you to have that particular plan. On this screen, you're going to see the names of the plans. You're going to see things like star ratings, the premiums, and then you're also going to see things like what the total premium plus drug cost is. And in the case of this, since I'm doing this before open enrollment, it's giving me the cost for the rest of 2025. So since I'm recording this video in September, it's basically giving me what October, November, and December would cost if I was to take this plan. It also is going to include things like what is the deductible on the plan. And what you can do is you can either add plans to compare by selecting this Add to Compare, or if there was a specific plan you wanted to look at right away, you could just click Plan Details. Now I threw 3 plans on here to compare, And so if I was to go down here and choose compare plans, it would put those three plans side by side so I can look at them and I can see what the drug ratings are. I can look and see how many of the pharmacies are going to be covered and then what my estimated costs are at those specific pharmacies that I chose, again, for the rest of the year. Now, when you do this during open enrollment, it's going to give you your estimated annual cost. So it'll go from January through the end of December. So looking at these three plans right here at a glance, I can see that if I was to take this plan, Walgreens, CVS, or Pick and Save, all is going to be pretty high, but this also includes the premium. It doesn't just cost the drugs. So this can be a little bit misleading. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to go back to plan results, and we're just going to look at these individually. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at WellCare here. We're going to click Plan Details, and we're going to look at various pieces of information. We can see where is the plan based out of. We can see there's my medications. And then going down here to pharmacies right away, we can see that all of the pharmacies that I chose were preferred and in-network. Now, other things that you might see is just in-network. Some of the things that you might see is out-of-network. So in our case, we see that with all of our plans here, these medications, it's estimating that the yearly cost for all these medications is 0, which is nice. That means for the rest of the year, even though the plan mentioned that there was a deductible of $590, these medications are at a tier where there is no current cost. And where we can see that is if we scroll down a little bit more, there's a section here that says View More Drug Coverage. And when we select that, what it will do is it'll show you what is the cost of the medications depending on the tier. And then you can adjust things like this one is preferred retail. We can change it to standard mail order, preferred mail order. You can make some adjustments there. But then what we can see is that all three of the medications that I chose were tier 1s. They don't require any prior authorization. Torvastatin here does have a quantity limit, which means that they may limit how many I can get during a fill. Maybe it's only a 1-month supply, maybe it's only a 3-month supply, as opposed to something like a 6-month supply. And then I don't see anything under step therapy. So that's nice. This would be an easy decision. But a lot of people will then say to me, Justin, what if I'm not just on easy regular medications? What if I'm on something a little bit more intense? Well, let's click on right here, back to drugs and pharmacies. And we're going to add in a medication that is a little bit more expensive. So we're going to add in Eliquis. Again, we're just going to choose the standard dosage. And that's the only thing we're going to change. So we've just added Eliquis to our drug list. We're going to select Done Adding Drugs. Again, we're going to go down here to continue to view plans because we're not going to change our pharmacies. Now, based on the lowest drug and premium cost, it is suggesting that this particular plan is going to be the best for our value. We can see right away that now with this particular plan, these 3 pharmacies are preferred and in-network, and then CVS is just in-network. So what does that mean? Well, it means that while this one would be $186, this one would be $186, and if we did mail order, it would be $126. If we were to pick these medications up at CVS, it would be $258. And that's not per month, that's the yearly cost. Looking at the breakdown, we can see what the breakdown would be expected to be. And then again, going into View More Drug Coverage, we can see now that on this particular plan, we still have the tier 1s, but now Eliquis is a tier 3 medication that has a quantity limit. But because we changed a different plan, the atorvastatin no longer does have a quantity limit. So this is an important thing to do when you're shopping around for plans, because if I was to go back and select one of these plans that maybe it's a little bit more expensive, so like we can choose this one right here, scrolling all the way down to the View More Coverage, we can see that both the atorvastatin and the Eliquis have a quantity limit. And then scrolling up here, we can see that the Eliquis is $91.27 on this, where on the other plan, it was significantly less. So this is a good way to review which plan is going to be the right fit for you. You can look at things and you can verify, is my medication going to need prior authorization? So again, using that as an example, one that commonly requires authorization is Ozempic. So if I was to add that to our medication list, and I'm going to take Eliquis off. So we're still only using 4 medications, and then again, continue to view plans. When we go into this and we choose view more coverage, we now see that Ozempic both is a tier 3, it requires prior authorization, and there's a quantity limit. So these are things that you're going to want to look for when you're comparing your medications and seeing which plan is going to be the right fit for you. Once you have finished comparing your plans and you have settled on which plan you're interested in selecting, the next step would be to enroll. To enroll into a plan, you're going to click on the Enroll button on whichever plan it is that you're interested in, or if you're in the Plan Details tab already, you can click on the Enroll button here. Once you've selected the Enroll button, it will pull up a Join Plan, and then you would click Join Plan, and then follow the information, fill it in, click Next when appropriate, and you will be enrolled. Now again, these enrollments, if you're doing it now and you're new to Medicare, this would go into effect on your Medicare effective date. Or if you're past your Medicare effective date but you're still within your 3-month window, it would go into effect on the following month. If you are enrolling in this plan between October 15th and December 7th, then the plan will kick in on January 1st. If you're currently enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan or a different Medicare Part D plan, then that plan would terminate at the end of the calendar year and your new plan would go into effect. Medicare receives that information and ensures that your previous plan is terminated correctly. So I hope this information is helpful. Feel free to play around in here. You can always go back. If you create your own login, you can save your medications so that it's a lot easier to shop in the future. Again, to do that, you would just select Log In and just go through the processes of creating an account right on Medicare.gov. So again, I hope this information was helpful to you. Have a good day.